Well, that's fun. The little pops.
You can hear that?
Yeah, you can hear it all.
When we used to make videos at BuzzFeed, we would have like these. We do it here too, but you would go to a soundboard and get like a SFX of like pops.
You find pops?
What?
But I would never find pops. I would make them myself.
You
Find
made all your own
pops?
pops?
I made my own pops over.
What? Like when text would come up and it would be like,
Yeah.
you would make all your
I
own
would
pops?
record it on my phone and just put it in the video.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that about you.
I had no idea.
Yeah, make your own pops.
Welcome to Pod Watcher, the official podcast of Watcher Entertainment. I'm Ryan Bergara.
I'm Shane Madej.
I'm Stephen Lim.
And this is a show where we chat about whatever's on our minds every week. And this week's episode, we're going to be chatting about something that's been on our minds for a while.
A long while. It's the end of the year. It's a time for reflection. It's a time to be grateful. It's been a rough year for many reasons I don't have to list.
Mm-hmm.
But we've been meaning to have this conversation for a while, and we wanted to unpack our year.
It's been a year of introspection. I know for the three of us, especially with how things have gone.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, back in April, we decided to launch our own streaming service.
Yeah, and just to clarify, when you're talking about streamer, it was the decision to paywall most of our new content,
Yes.
to make our most popular shows only accessible on the streaming platform. That was one of the worst decisions that we've ever made.
Certainly.
We did it for a variety of reasons. We were hopeful that it would make our company more financially sustainable and, we'd still be able to support all the staff members that we have here and continue making the shows that we were making. And that honestly, that was the primary reason. And a lot of it was just to keep the company alive. And in doing so, we completely disregarded all of the folks who had supported us to this point, to get to this point, to be able to make said content, and quickly realized that was a horrible decision, of a very big mistake. So we retracted it and course corrected and tried to find a better solution that was more inclusive of all the folks that have helped get us to this point. But a mistake it was, regardless. I think sometimes you get really caught up in trying to save something, the company, all the folks around us, the thing we've built, that you just kind of get a little bit tunnel vision. You lose sight of what's actually important, which is you guys. And that was a horrible mistake and something we've been grappling with over the past, I don't know how many months it's been, or I guess the past year. And, we did, obviously make a YouTube apology that we posted shortly thereafter. But it wasn't kind of a long form, just more retrospective discussion on it, like we're going to have today about, how we feel about it and, how it's changing things that, we're doing going forward at Watcher here. And I guess in a nutshell, that's kind of the table setting. But very important to start this discussion with the acknowledgement of that was a massive mistake. And since that day, we've learned a lot, but also have done everything we can to prove that in terms of making changes that are, that you guys could actually see in the channel and how we do things over here at Watcher. So I guess that's just square one right there.
Ryan and I were just out on the road, and Matt. We were all just out on the road with Ghost Files, and doing the tours every year is we love doing that because we're so often releasing stuff and working on stuff very hard, and it goes out there and people watch it, and it's great.
Yeah.
And we're happy to know that people are watching it, but then you go out and do the tour and you meet people and people tell you, they met their friends through the show or they watch it as a family. And it just always, it is why we do it, but it's nice to see such a concrete reminder right in front of you of like, we have fun doing this. We love making the stuff we make, but also even after a year like this, where, it's been difficult. It's been difficult to grapple with trying to sort of climb back from this. Then you go out on the tour and you see all the people who, it really means something to them. And that means a lot to us, to know that we're our silly little bullshit show. Puppets and ghosts and all of these things, we realize that this is a speck on the things that are important in the world right now. But to know that we can do stuff that helps people get by in times that are tough is enough to make us keep fighting to want to do this. And I'm sorry if I'm speaking about this in aggrandizing terms, because again, I know what we're doing here, and I know that we're not, changing the world, but we're trying to do stuff that helps people or makes them feel less alone. And on that note, that is also what I think occurred to us very quickly in the wake of everything that went down in April. I think the initial bewilderment by us for the sort of intense response was, I think when you contextualize it in knowing that people aren't going to react that passionately to something they don't give a shit about. So to, even the comments that were, very, very abrasive, and granted, some clearly went over the line.
Yeah.
I don't need to know if I need to cite a specific example, but I think Ryan posted a picture of his dog Vinny, and someone said, euthanize him.
Holy.
Oh my goodness.
So just to give you a taste of maybe some people, that person must really love our shows. So acknowledging that maybe some people took things a little too far, but for the people who were like, this sucks, in so many words, we could understand why people were coming from, because they felt hurt. It was us, trying to keep things going and losing sight of sort of a fundamental aspect of that, which is all the people who are out there watching our stuff and loving our stuff and
what it means to them,
and what it means to
and
them.
an understanding of what it means to them as well.
And to the people who are maybe tuning into this for a better understanding of this, or maybe are still very skeptical of everything that went down, I would say that if it seemed out of character for us to make this, because I mean, it's a lot of people who are like, this is nuts. Why would they do this? If it seemed out of character for us to do this out of greed, all I can say, and if you're a part of the audience who will never believe us on this, then that is fine, because I'm speaking from a place of truth, is that we did not do this out of greed or personal profit. Trying to keep this company sustainable and moving for 5 years has been a struggle every single year. We started this company in 2020,
That's
which was
Yes.
a rough time to do that. Making stuff that goes up essentially for free is not a good business model. And other companies have found ways to be better at it. We're not geniuses, as many people have pointed out. And we've been trying our best and trying things every year. There's been many times where things have almost just gone belly up at this company. The whole thing was never motivated by greed. It was solely to keep the things going and keep doing what we're doing and keep people employed and keep making shows that matter to people.
No, and that was what we were focused on. So to see obviously the major oversight that had occurred when we made the decision that we made, and to see the reaction, it was a bit of a wake up call, and it was shocking, and it was, it makes me that's why we want to have this conversation, to just clarify where we were coming from, to know that definitely was never our intent to, hurt anybody or to make anybody feel not included in what we were trying to do with our company. That was never something that we ever wanted to happen. And then to see that was in fact, that was the result, regardless of what our intent was. That was that we spent the past year grappling with that and coming to terms with that and doing what we can to make it better.
I completely agree with y'all. Like, it was, we never intended to hurt anybody, and it was a big learning lesson for all of us. But just to kind of give more insight to people who are like, how could that even have happened? How could you have even like come to the decision to launch the streaming platform? And here's what I'll say about the three of us. We love making videos and we love making content. And when we were over at BuzzFeed, we got to spend 95% of our job focused on making the content. And that was really a joy. And that's actually why we wanted to own our own company, because we wanted to be able to have a place to just do that, to make stuff for all of you. And unfortunately, the thing that happens when you start a company, especially from three people who have no business experience whatsoever, is other things start to pile up in our responsibilities. And these are things that we weren't prepared for or well equipped for, which is things like PR and marketing. We didn't really have to worry about that much before. Finance, we didn't have to worry about before. Operations, even down to HR, things like this. We suddenly had to wear all these different hats. And when you run a company, all of these different hats become your main priority, including the content. And so when we launched the streamer, or when we thought of doing the streamer, we thought, oh, maybe this can help solve all of these different problems that we're having in trying, in all, our finance issues and our operations issues. Maybe this can solve that. And honestly, it was a big mistake, because what happens was we have, 5 to 10 different priorities, and inevitably some get lost by the wayside. And one of those that got lost was our emphasis on holding all of you, the viewers, at the center of our company. And that was the biggest mistake. Was I realized, through all of this, that like, you don't have to have the perfect operations or the perfect PR and marketing, but you do have to really put the viewers at the center. And that you can never, ever, ever forget that when making content. And that was the biggest learning lesson for me, I think for all of us. And yes, we're working on the other parts of running a business and working through that. But I guess the positive side of all of this is that it helped us to refocus our efforts and to really think about the viewers when making our content.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's obviously clear ever since it happened. Obviously, we released the follow-up video, which was very concise and obviously pretty manicured, but passions were high, emotions were high. We wanted to state the information very clearly and let people know that we were listening.
Yeah.
Since then, we've been at a bit of arm's length in terms of unpacking this and talking about this. We've wanted to do this for a while. I think in the immediate aftermath, there has been continued changes. We've been working to make the company better and find ways to make it work that work for the viewer, that work on YouTube.
Yeah.
While still having fun over on the streamer, which is now at this point sort of just become
kind of like a hub of community for just the folks that really enjoy all of our stuff, and we can do fun little extra things over there. And
like you can post all
my evidence for my Ghost Files investigations that doesn't make it in the episode. That's fun stuff.
That's the hottest club on the internet right now. It's
but I've seen a lot of people say, don't make those shows. Why are you spending so much money making shows? Just go back to what you were doing at BuzzFeed. And I want people to understand that the shows we make here are so much cheaper than any shows we made at BuzzFeed. That yes, Unsolved, the show where people were like, that's just two guys sitting in chairs. In the first episode of that show, we went to California, Mexico City, then back up to Kansas.
Yeah.
That show had more people on its staff than we have at our entire company.
Yeah.
It had, BuzzFeed was a huge corporation that had PR and marketing and just like legions of people working on that show.
Yes.
The shows that we make here are pretty cheap relative to any shows made, in the industry or, so I just wanted to emphasize that that's not what was the issue. I mean, obviously it's hard to make any shows for free.
For sure.
And we're just trying to keep them going.
I mean, the economics of a YouTube channel, I had a chance to talk to some friends this past weekend who recently were just like, we just can't do this anymore. And, I think the average lifespan of a YouTuber is like 5 to 8 years or something like that. And
of the channel.
Of a channel.
Mm.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, he has a channel.
Sorry. The average lifespan of a YouTube channel is about 5 to 8 years.
I'm going to get my estate in order.
And we're here hitting the 5-year mark. So, part of it too is like trying to innovate in a way that is going to allow us to keep doing this for more than that amount of time. For, hopefully the next additional 5, 10 years, 20 years.
And that's not just for us too. That's for everyone that is in our staff as well, which is something that's always like on our minds.
And I want to be clear. We love doing this. Yeah. That was the thing is like this happened in April. Over the summer, we were shooting Weird Wonderful World. We still had some ghost files to shoot. When we were out there shooting Weird Wonderful World,
yeah.
When the cameras are rolling, you're out on location. We're having the time of our lives, even with all of the baggage of this year.
Yeah,
we had so much fun shooting. We still have fun. It's like that's. I mean, if we weren't, I'd be gone.
No,
I would have in April, May this year. I would have been like, all right, see you guys later.
Yeah, it's I think that was the hardest part about it, though, is that we do love doing this, and we do love the community that we have with all of you guys, and the fact that we had done something to jeopardize all of that. That was extremely painful and tough to deal with. Yeah. Because obviously you make a mistake. The first thing you want to do is do everything you can to correct the mistake, which is what we did. And sure, time has passed, but in the time that's passed, you still have, as a human, have to kind of like grapple with how you feel about all that. And for me personally, I won't speak for you guys, just like, it's been tough for me personally of just like knowing that, well, I don't like making mistakes. I don't like making mistakes. I don't like hurting people. And knowing that I had done something that had done that was very tough to deal with. And there was a lot of shame around that of just like, maybe I'm not a good person, or I'd lost touch in a way that, had allowed this to happen. So there was a lot of just trying to deal with that. And, that's also kind of, contributes to why it's taken so long for us to talk about this, because I wanted to get to a place where I could feel comfortable talking about this and having a open, honest dialogue about it. So, that's been a process as well. Because that's I guess like there's the business side of it, and then there's the human side of it, both from your guys' perspective and our perspective as well. And trying to set up a system here now where hopefully something like that will never happen again, and that we can continue to do this, not only just for you guys, but also, for ourselves. Because as Shane mentioned, it's something we enjoy doing. We love making the content that we love, that we put out there. And we're thankful that you guys love watching that content, and we hope we could continue that relationship for years to come. So I don't know. I just wanted to kind of talk about that, I guess, or just point that out briefly of just, it has been, I guess that's a long form way to say it's been a big learning process.
Can I jump off of that? And while we're still kind of talking about production stuff, there's a thing where it's like, okay, this is too much work. Okay, I've resolved that. What can I add? That kind of creative thing that keeps the creative juices going and keeps like the, excitement, right? About what can I add? Can you all talk about like trying to add more stuff and fulfill yourself creatively, but also being like, okay, well, this is not affordable.
No, I mean, it's a valid question. Honestly, I could see from the outside perspective, like why you would think that. It's like, we'll just make it cost less. I could totally see why that would be the thing that he would point out.
Or even being like, well, we didn't ask for all of this.
Pointing out going back to what Shane was saying about how these shows actually cost less than what we were making at BuzzFeed. That was kind of the impetus for the company, was the fact that we were able to make these shows for less money and make them kind of punch above their weight class. But even still, they still cost money. And these were as trim as we thought we could get them. And as time has passed from like the incident,
April 19th,
we have tried our best to trim the budgets off the shows as much as we can, but still the problem lasts of like, it is hard to make content on YouTube, free shows on YouTube for as long as we have, for the length that we have. And it's an equation that we're still trying to figure out. I saw a lot of the discourse about being just like, we just wanted to see you guys talk about these things. And that is true. But at the same time, a ghost hunting show is a travel show. You do have to travel to these locations. You do have to bring crew to film these things. And that still has a bottom line cost that is kind of unavoidable, honestly. But yes, there can be some tinkering with the format to be like, okay, we can figure out what actually matters. And that was actually nice to kind of just take like an audit of all of our shows and be like, okay, what is the heart and core of this show and what it's accomplishing and what is necessary to that and what is actually just maybe flash.
There's one thing about all of this that started to get weaponized in a way that was not its intention.
You eating gold? Is that?
No. Well, you got to bring that up.
I wanted to unpack that a little bit.
We can talk about that later. But
I saw people weaponizing that in a way that I thought was, certainly
a
little,
uncalled for.
Because you're, again, travel season, one of our cheaper than Puppet History, certainly cheaper than Ghost Files.
A little bit, But what the word I was going to say was this idea of TV caliber content.
Yes.
And I'll tell you, when we started the company, we were like trying to basically create this vision within our employees of like, this is the way that we want to do things. We want to do things the right way. We want to do things how our production we felt idealistically should run. And we had seen issues in the past with even Unsolved. You'll get back from a shoot, and because you had too few people on set, you'll lose all your audio, or you won't have a camera running, or something will happen. And we were like, well, we don't want to stress people out or overwork people, because also those shoots are crazy. You have like a DIT. Some seasons you guys were having like a DIT come in. Sorry, this is like all language.
Oh,
that is
there were
crazy, but
there were seasons where we had like TJ running sound and camera.
Yeah,
or like Devin. It was
because we had to cut the budget back then too.
Yeah, right.
But then there were seasons when we had everything that we needed as well. So,
but yeah, so we were like, okay, let's put this imaginary bar of TV caliber content to just help people understand that we're trying to do things the right way around here. And I will say that has been erased from all the books here at Watcher. We're not saying that anymore. And it did make us lose sight of what we were trying to do. That is true. It was a problem that we were like, oh, now this thing that was supposed to be a positive thing at the beginning became, oh, how do we reach this imaginary bar that doesn't actually matter? And the kind of the new bar we're setting here is not about the quality of content anymore. It's really about how can we connect with all of you better? How can we create something that inspires y'all? How can we do something that can inspire you to pursue your passions and show that we really care about the things that we're doing, that we are curious, that we love. And so like, how can we do things in a way that showcases that and not worry about the quote unquote TV caliber content anymore?
Yeah, I think the TV caliber content thing was also just sort of this kind of like,
just getting rid of a pillow.
It got misplaced, but it was kind of like this sense of like, everyone try and do the best work that they possibly can. That was kind of like this bar to inspire that. And then it just got kind of twisted into being like, we have to have all our content measure up to this like quality standard that was this arbitrary bar set by things that aren't even in the YouTube ecosphere. So
Just to clarify, it got twisted by you.
Yes, we're the
Not in
twisters.
not in the language.
We were
of it.
twisted.
Yeah.
No,
we're out there purple nurpling ourselves.
And this is, I say this not to excuse anything at all, but if you go back and if you look at any episode of anything we posted before April, maybe saving any episode of Top 5 Beatdown. When people aren't mad at us for justifiable reasons, you go back and look at the comments. Almost every video we ever posted, people in the comments were like, I love the production value of this. No other YouTube channel is doing it like this. We were like, they like that. They really like that's important to them. And then we found out most people didn't not have that opinion and just maybe weren't, vocalizing, because why would they need to vocalize like, hey, they don't need to do all this, when we're doing all that and just putting it out regularly.
Which could speak to a greater issue of just like what it could be like being a creator, looking at feedback and taking the complete wrong takeaway from things.
Yes.
And instead of just trusting your creative instincts, having a group of people around you where we all have a similar vision and just create what you're passionate about. And I think that's everything that we're doing now at Watcher is recentering around the idea of like, we're going to make stuff that we're passionate about and we know that you guys care about, and we're going to just try and forge that community as opposed to like getting to this arbitrary content quality bar or whatever.
Can I ask something about the TV caliber content that I want you all to own up to?
To own up to, here we go.
Well, in addition to that kind of meeting this quality level,
yeah,
I'd like to hear you all talk a little bit about, like, let's take Puppet History, for example.
Yeah.
That show is driven on, Shane, your desire to do this. Wouldn't this be fun? Wouldn't this be fun? Wouldn't this be fun?
Yeah.
And then, that balloons into oh my gosh, I'm doing so much.
Yeah, oh my God.
Time.
Oh no. Oh no.
Can you talk about that? Because I don't think it's not. Yes, it is the wanting to hit a benchmark of quality and get these cameras and do this type of look or whatever. But also just like from a creator's perspective, I personally know there's a desire to innovate and change and add stuff on.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I think that's also part of what keeps us wanting to make things. I get bored with not trying new things. If we were in it solely just for money or for, let's get number one trending, like that's not interesting to any of us. And so like every season of Puppet History, except for maybe like last season where I was like, I gotta take it easy a little bit. I was always like, what else can I do? What's new? What is something I haven't done before? And in those cases, that's not even like affecting production cost very much, because the production of Puppet History is largely like the lessons. And then, I mean, save for very little, everything outside of those, all the stupid, crazy shit. That's largely me and After Effects and me coming in and shooting stuff on green screen and like, So, that was always me trying to just shoulder the burden of whatever dumb creative pursuits I had. But I think that's like, we try to push ourselves within limits.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting discussion on this in particular because it's a meditation on just what it is to be like a creative. And any creative there
yeah, let's
no, but there is because like it's a good thing to point out, because there is a part of you that's like, there's the half of you that's like purely creative and like what you're passionate about, and as with anybody, there's the other half that's ego, honestly. And it feels like for us, I think this is where things got twisted on our part a little bit, is that when you're a creator, you don't want to make bullshit. You don't want to make it seem like you're not putting your best foot forward and like put out stuff that's like low res quality. Like you don't care, because that's never the case. We care a lot. But that isn't always like, your care level isn't always necessarily, synonymous with the quality level, I suppose. And I think where I certainly got a little twisted, and I think this is where the ego comes in, is like, I always want to make good stuff. And the good stuff to me in my mind was like, okay, what's happening around me in like the industry or other YouTubers or movies and TV, trying to reach that bar. That is what is the good stuff. When in reality, that doesn't really matter. That's actually much more ego based. And I think what I've tried to recenter myself now with more is what is the best possible thing that I can make? And, you know, recently I just went out and did something over the summer. Actually, I shot this thing called Ghost Files Alone, where I went out and did something completely by myself, where I stayed in a haunted house for 24 hours. And I shot it, I produced it, I edited it. And there was a good way to just return back to the roots of just like, okay, I don't know if this is going to be as high quality as Ghost Files or anything out there on YouTube. No one's going to be like, wow, look at the how high quality and how like, you know, how impressive this is. It was more just a return to like, I'm very passionate about this. I want to find proof of ghosts. I want to make something that's fun. I want to go on an adventure and take people with me. What is the best possible version of this that I am capable of? And let's see what happens. And I think there was a bit of loss of perspective on that. And I think that is the biggest mistake of the TV quality content thing was we had all started this as like run and gun creatives of like at BuzzFeed when we were coming up through the ranks. It was like, what is the best possible thing that we can make with our resources now? And that was kind of what informed us through that. That's why we formed this company. And then as the company started to gain acclaim, you know, it started to become like, how far can we push it in terms of the quality bar? That's never what the company was about. And I think, you know, I'm grateful for everything that happened in April in that sense of just like, it was a recentering of like, why are we doing this?
Yeah, it really helped us to refocus on what our mission and vision is, because I had been asking around the company recently, what do you think about Watcher? And the one word that I've heard everybody here say that they care about a lot is curiosity. We all really are centered around this idea of curiosity and exploration. And I think going back to your question too about like why we do this and why do we keep going further, it's because we are, I mean, maybe there is some ego, but also there's this curiosity of like, how far can I push things? How far can I go? How creative can I get? And so that is innately in us. But I agree with Ryan that sometimes that can get the lines can get blurred a little bit with that, and like, oh, how much am I doing this for legitimacy in our field, or how much am I doing this for the accolades, which, you know,
and it could be insidious because it sneaks up on you. You don't really even realize it. Everyone has ego, by the way. Anyone who claims they don't, they're lying.
I don't.
I was just to say, not me.
And sometimes it's kind of gets twisted of why you're doing some things.
I would even put it, I mean, and I don't think that ego, I kind of disagree with that a little bit, because I think part of it wasn't ego. It's more, maybe pride is the same as ego, but like the stubbornness and the way that we do things. Is that ego?
I don't know. I just wanted to notate the idea that I'm not, you know, none of us are perfect here.
That's
and like,
absolutely true.
And we're very capable of getting misguided in some points. And sometimes you need to get a smack on the head to get back on the rails. And, you know, if anything, April was the biggest smack on the head I've ever gotten in my life. And I'm grateful for it.
Okay, can we talk about the goodbye YouTube video?
Yeah.
Can we talk about some of the things that are said in that video?
Can I start?
Please.
Okay. I want to apologize again, because I know the things that I said personally, and I know collectively bad video, bad decision. But I want to also just real quick take a lot of responsibility on myself for this, because I had said some things that were very hurtful and wrong. I said that anybody can afford $6, and I basically implied that, you know, it's a affordable price point. And the truth of the matter is that it's not, and that was extremely insensitive for me to say. I'm very sorry that I said it.
And we said this in the follow-up video, but also, yeah, as I stated earlier, that was all. That was a very quick sort of, you know, and you know, I think it bears repeating, because we felt horrible about it. You know,
sure.
And it was, like I said, we were really in our own heads with trying to just keep the engine running, which is not to excuse any of it. It comes from a place of privilege. We live in Los Angeles, where everything's expensive.
Yeah.
And Yeah. And even Stephen, you apologizing personally is fine.
Yeah.
Sure. Go ahead.
Well,
but also this was a thing that we all released and all agreed with. And we were like, that's good messaging. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
There was a lot of scapegoating on Stephen for throughout that whole thing. And
for that remark specifically, I'll own up to it because you guys didn't say that. I said that, and I'll own that specifically about the price point being affordable. And just real quick, last thing I'll say about that is, it forced me to to think about why I even said it that way. And I realized I tend to just say things that are thoughtless or mindless. For me, I can't go back and change what I said and how I hurt people. But what I can do is I myself am meditating on being more intentional about my words and making sure that I think that I'm more mindful, that I speak with without just speaking for filling space. And I just wanted to reiterate because I did say it in the other apology video, but just with the time and space here to really, I know I hurt some people out there, and I really am sorry about that.
But also what Shane said, the collective message of the entire video was the onus of it is on all three of us. So just want to make that clear.
That raises a question. You just said that you can't take it back, and I don't think that there's any attempt to do so, but it does raise the question. That video has a lot of information that at this point is incorrect. Why is the video still up? And will it be taken down? Because again, it has information that is not true anymore.
I think it's abundantly clear that despite, learning from this and getting back in the swing of things and trying to keep going and maintain momentum after a pretty horrible decision, we've been at arm's length regarding this whole topic for a lot of the summer, and a lot of that was like we were very rattled. We're not people who are very online. we're becoming elderly, and to have like so much sort of laser focus and just a mountain of feedback, also from people who didn't even seem to know who we were. It was a lot to deal with, and it was pretty overwhelming. And I think in the immediate aftermath of it, the best thing we could do and did was to, we shot Weird Wonderful World. We were shooting Ghost Files. We were thinking about internally how we could change things and to make things more efficient here and to acknowledge people's concerns. But it was difficult to publicly speak about this because the passions and emotions were so high, and it was hard to discuss this without overthinking every single word and statement that we were making. Even now, this whole conversation, though I think once we sat down and have started talking about this, it's been nice to unpack this. This was also a difficult thing to eventually arrive at. But we did not want to take that video down until we had a bigger conversation about, what's been going through our minds this year. And we hope that by putting this out, it'll at least make people understand why, we've been a little closed off about it. But we didn't want to take that video down without sort of unpacking all this first. Yeah, and obviously we do want to take it down because, in the wake of the changes that we made, the function of and the way that we are delivering content is essentially the same. It's still coming out on YouTube weekly. And now the streamer is sort of like,
and by weekly, you mean like we're still releasing videos weekly on YouTube.
Right.
And then the streamer, we're releasing them a month early.
Right.
Yeah. It's just early access.
But to anyone who, was not, I still meet people who, and this was very refreshing in April, who would be like, "Hey, how's it going, man?" And I'd be like, "Well, and they'd be like, "No, what?" And I'd be like, oh, there's people who are just like not plugged into any of this who show up to watch our ghost videos and are like, what are you talking about? So, to them, if they stumble across, that video, there's obviously a lot of information in it that is just simply
not true anymore,
confusing or odd. And then there's the follow-up video, which addresses a lot of it, but I don't know if they're going to watch that. So, in the wake of this discussion, we will probably take that down. And I don't want people to, you're welcome to say that we're running away from it or are cowards. Feel free to clip it and do whatever you want with it. I don't give a shit. We've made changes and we've done a lot of hard introspection and realigning this year.
The best knowledge I can think of is like, let's say you have a restaurant and you put a menu up and it's like wrong.
And people are like
what's going on?
Where's the tortellini?
So you would take the menu down.
We don't have no tortellini.
This raises another question. If you had to address it in order to take that video down, and it was advantageous for that video to eventually be taken down, can I ask, why has this conversation taken so long to happen?
I think because we saw what happened when we didn't put a lot of thought into something that mattered to a lot of people.
Sure.
The degree to which people were understandably hurt by our pivot was very difficult to see. It really made us, I think, a little gun shy about how to best address it, knowing that we just put something out that we did think we put a lot of thought into, but we weren't thinking about the right things, and we forgot about a lot of what was important. And it seemed like, us speaking about it would potentially just sort of open the wounds and make things worse.
We also just wanted to make sure that we had a plan in place moving forward that we could share. And what that required was the time to implement that, but also to read all of the comments. And over the past 7 months, I think I've read every comment from every individual about the situation in an attempt to just learn about what we did and how we could make it better. And it is nice, as much as it was painful, that we're on YouTube, because we were able to actually have a forum for people to leave their feedback. So, part of it is, I want to say thank you for all of you for leaving constructive criticism and feedback to help us get to where we are now.
Yeah, one of the main reasons why this all went down was because we weren't listening enough anyway. So the ability now to gather all the feedback that we've gotten since then and then have this conversation, that's also part of the reason why it's taken the amount of time it's taken to talk about it. Before we do move on to what does this all mean in the future of Watcher, I do just want to reiterate that, obviously we've talked about the weight that this mistake has had on us personally, and how it was tough to see the feedback and the hurt that we had caused. But just want to acknowledge the fact that yes, that was hard for us, but you guys were the ones still that were hurt by us, and I don't want that to get lost in all of this. And that the reason why you were hurt was directly because of things that we did, and that we did not listen enough, and that we hope to not do that again in the future.
Yeah, this whole discussion is not a woe is us. We're the victims here. The conversation largely was to frame our thinking throughout this year and what we've gleaned from this. All in all, the reaction from people to all this is not from people who don't care about what we do and what we've been making. The point is we understand where people are coming from.
Yeah. No, I think that's it.
And we've wanted to have this conversation to better illustrate what we've learned from this and how we're taking what we've learned and using that to keep things moving in a way that I think people will be happy about.
Yeah. If there's one takeaway from this whole thing, for me, it's just that we didn't center the viewer and center all of you. And that's what we're going to do moving forward, which is reading the comments, which is listening to y'all, which is giving y'all the space to tell us, what you want, which is why that's all kind of leading up to what the plan is to do next.
And we want to be clear, this is part 1 of a 15-part podcast.
Absolutely.
We're going to be talking about this for 3 months.
We brought in Kevin Feige over the next 12 years.
Yeah.
No, but it's a good point because this is just the beginning of it for us. You know, this is the first step of the conversation, and it was so hard for us to sit down and do this because it felt like it had to be definitive. When truly it's just we want to just start the conversation.
Yes, I'm sure, people will have questions in the future about, hey, you guys never talked about that. And I think we needed to sort of break the seal on it a little more and just clear the air.
Yeah.
And you can ask those questions.
Hey, play the mailbags.
We actually do have a phone number here. If you haven't watched the other episodes of this show, that's fine. But if we answer questions from the listeners and the audience, then you can call in and leave a voicemail at 818-275-4585 or email us at AskWatcherPods@gmail.com.
Can you imagine if we had that voicemail in April?
It would have been super helpful.
But let's talk about the changes we're making. I think that's a good place to sort of, to leave that right now and talk about based on all this learning and reflecting.
Yeah.
And what that means for the future.
Well, we've been reading your comments to try to figure out what y'all want, and y'all really want more Ghost Files and Mystery Files. And so with that, we're actually going to be doubling down on both of those shows next year.
Which is something we've had planned to strive toward. Back when we were at BuzzFeed, there were years where we started doing double seasons of both. That was fun because it's ghost hunting is fun, even for me.
Oh.
It's nice to go to little towns and explore places, and I have a great time doing it.
No, I mean, I think part of the one of the good things about this is that we have a better idea of what you guys want to see, and thrilled to find that it's kind of synonymous with what we want to do more of anyway, as Shane just kind of alluded to, and that's more Ghost Files and more Mystery Files. So just gonna have more investigations, more eps, and also just in general, the channel is just going to lean a little bit more into the paranormal and the mystery and the spooky aspects, and kind of lean into that more. So that means more Are You Scared? More Ghost Files, more Mystery Files. I already mentioned up top that we have my 24 Hours Alone in a Haunted House coming out.
Can you talk more about that, Ryan? Are you at liberty to
the budding franchise of Ghost Files Alone?
It's not a budding franchise.
I think I'm like, look, we give the people what they want, I think is the lesson here. And if people really love that,
I can't physically do it again. You'll see when you see it's a 3-parter. You'll see when it comes out. It is grueling.
I am overjoyed.
There's crazy shit that happens in that house. I had a mental breakdown. It was a lot.
I'm so happy to have finally seen the edit of that. It's wonderful, Ryan.
Oh, thank you.
It's really good. And it's nice to see you out because you shot this,
in the summer,
a few months ago.
July, August?
Yeah. July, and then we went on tour.
Yeah, and then it's been sort of under wraps. I haven't seen a frame of it until this week.
No one had until this week.
Yeah.
I've been kind of grinding on the edit for that for the past couple weeks.
It's really fun to see you kind of out there on your own. It's very funny.
Also,
it's a funny show. I just enjoy watching you travel.
No, and even watching Ryan in the edit bay on this project, I saw Ryan's eyes light up in a way they hadn't, in a bit, just like from an editing standpoint. You really had a good time putting together the project.
No, like I was saying earlier, it was just kind of a return to what is the best possible thing that I can make here, and I'm going to just give it my all. And I tend to dive into projects, so I haven't slept a lot. But the idea or just the process of like raw creation is just so fun. I've had more fun editing this than I have editing a project in a while, and I'm just excited to shoot more Ghost Files now too. Just because like we caught some crazy shit I guess not we. I caught some crazy shit.
All you,
the royal we.
I caught a lot of cool shit over at the place that I investigated, and it makes me excited to get back out there and catch more stuff on Ghost Files.
You sound like Ash Ketchum.
I thought you said Ass Catchum. I was confused.
He's the
Pokemon.
Yeah.
I wanted to point out that the thrill of this because I know we were talking about sort of like pushing ourselves creatively, whatever that meditation on all that was. But the thing that I think, if anyone's like, oh, well, you're not doing as many of the things as you were doing before, I think that's sort of a blessing, because, I have been afforded the luxury of largely focusing, when we're not shooting other stuff, on Puppet History. And the joy of Puppet History for me has been, I'm not producing, 5 other shows.
Yes.
And that show every season, at least for like the first 5 seasons, I've always been like, what can I do that's a little more fun this season? How can I tinker with this and change this? And kind of narrowing our scope a little bit, I think, will allow us to do the same with the shows that we really love.
Yeah.
And, spend less time, which I want to say, there's a season of Top 5 coming out, maybe the farewell season. Who knows? I know people love that show, but, without making, devoting so much time to other shows that maybe are, not quite as beloved or to us or to the audience.
We'll be able to put a little bit more of an onus on the shows that we know for sure that everyone enjoys, ourselves included.
Yeah.
Just like Ghost Files, Mystery Files.
And I know you didn't just explicitly say it, so I'm just going to say it for you. Puppet History is coming back.
Puppet History is coming back after the new year, right after the new year. And I know, obviously, Puppet History may not necessarily fit the mandate of a spooky-centric channel.
Yeah.
If people want more Puppet History, there will be more Puppet History. We'll find a space for it, whether it's on that channel, whether it's somewhere else. Oh, don't worry about Puppet History. We love making Puppet History. Puppet History is a show that also just involves a lot of time and thought and energy.
Yeah.
And is not, in a perfect world. The thought of
the next season's really good too.
It's very fun. We've got, who do we got? We got the lovely Sarah Rubin stopping by. We've got Reese Feldman stopping by.
Yeah.
We've got Brennan Lee Mulligan stopping by, Alex Song Shah, Arya Intavong stopping by, and Claudia Restrepo is going to be in an episode. It's very fun. It's a great season. And
there's a fun crossover event in it too.
I don't want to get too spoiling with that. But yeah, Puppet History, it's not a show I want to disappear. So if it doesn't quite fit under the spooky banner, we'll either wedge it in there or find somewhere else for it.
Yeah.
Speaking of wedging and fitting things,
talk about wedging.
Food stuff. Food stuff. We are going to be taking all the food stuff and putting it somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I still love making food content. There still is an audience for it, but one big lesson that we learned is that sometimes those audiences are not the same. We understand that if you came for spooky content and you were served a food video, that could be very confusing.
Unless it was peeled grapes, like, are these eyeballs? Is it intestines? But that was not the content.
It was not. Unfortunately, it was more so going to feature small businesses and restaurants. But yeah, so we feel that we want to just make it make sense for y'all. So if you're going to watch this channel for the spooky stuff, you'll get that unknown exploratory content, and then we want to move the food videos to somewhere where it can be a new home for people who do love food videos. And we're going to, figure out a way to make that work. It'll be a new project under Watcher's umbrella, but it won't affect any of the stuff that you see right now.
Yeah, I might check it out. No, I actually am very excited to check it out, Steven. I loved Travel Season, by the way. I mean, as evidenced, I'm on Watcher TV as one of our little bonus shows. I hosted a roundtable every week where I watched the episode and then I interviewed somebody from the crew and we talked about each of the episodes because me and my wife loved watching that show.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
I'll watch anything with you 3 knuckleheads.
Oh, I love those 2 knuckleheads.
What a new channel named 3 Knuckleheads. 3 hungry knuckleheads.
Didn't you say 3 mouthketeers at one point?
I said the mouthketeers.
Mouthketeers
is good.
That's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of Travel Season Roundtable, that is one of our bonus shows over there on Watcher TV. Obviously, all of our main shows, Ghost Files, Mystery Files, Puppet History, all of the stuff that you would have gotten on YouTube is going to continue to be on YouTube weekly. You'll get it a month earlier over on Watcher TV because Watcher TV is kind of morphing into more of a community hub, if you will, a place where you could get the shows early, get bonus content like Travel Season Roundtable, behind the scenes shows, bloopers, things like that. it's just a fun time over there.
The new ad recently was Evidence Room.
That's right, Evidence Room.
I don't think we should tell people to go there to watch Evidence Room.
I think Evidence Room is pretty compelling. Evidence Room is where
great.
I think it's psychotic.
Well, I basically, when we sift for evidence in Ghost Files, we will literally clip out little pieces of evidence that we find. Not all of them make it into the show, but we do have to review every piece of evidence and, decide as a team what's going to go into each episode. And so Evidence Room is basically where I'm able to just like string out all of the evidence for every place we go and just let you guys see it all, aired and unaired stuff.
Here's a preview of an episode. Check this out. Boom.
Okay. All right. Well, I enjoy it, and I know all the folks, the Bergaras out there enjoy it. So.
It is a super cut of sort of bumps in the night and clonks,
bonks and clonks,
visual things that maybe are. So these are things that didn't make the episode.
That's right.
Yeah.
Some of them, it's just like it doesn't make sense. Like, for instance, there are certain EVPs that you really have to press your headphones in to hear.
So you're like, what is that?
Or more so, it's just like, it's going to be hard to introduce that in the middle of an episode and be like, all right, you're going to really have to turn your volume up right now, guys, to hear this one. It doesn't really make sense in the context of a show, but there is still something there. So there should be a place for it.
The streamer generally is going to be a place where we're going to be able to share lots of new things, lots of experimental stuff, new shows, exclusive stuff. That's just for the streamer. So
yeah,
it's going to be a fun little space for us.
That's
for
right.
example, Shane just had a little AMA in Discord.
Yeah, it's fun. No, the Discord was we migrated that over from the Patreon days. And it's the Discord, a lot of fun. We haven't talked much about Watcher TV this year because obviously a lot of people were like, we don't want to hear about that right now. And that's fair. But it's been a growing community over there. And it's, I think, leveled out to a really nice, fun space.
And obviously Ryan said it earlier, but you'll get all the content early, a month early on Watcher TV, and ad free, which means all the YouTube ads, as well as all of the integrations and stuff that we add to the videos as well.
Well, we've talked a lot today. I just want to say that if you have joined us for this conversation, thank you for listening. If you're a person who was initially, bristled at the mistakes we made earlier this year and have, given us some forgiveness in all of this, we can't thank you enough for sticking by our side and continuing to watch. If you're a person who remains skeptical of us, but still was at least giving us the time of day here to talk a little bit about all of this, again, we appreciate it, and we will continue to try to listen and take your opinions into consideration as we try to make things better around here. And keep on making stuff that we hope is exciting and important to you.
For sure. No, thank you for being with us this whole time.
No, agree.
We'll be in the comments. We'll be in the emails that we put up in the phone number, the voicemails. We're listening to y'all. And it's been a tough few months for everybody, and we want to just make things right. So I hope you guys can give us the opportunity to do that.
And we're, at the end of it all, we're grateful that we're still able to do this for you guys and for you guys because of you guys. So yeah.
Also, if you've been fully out of the loop on anything that's happened with us this year, I guess we should have said at the top, skip this one.